Hello and welcome! Today we'll be talking about the zodiac sign of Cancer, and at the time of publishing, this will be Cancer season, so welcome to Cancer season. In our last episode about Gemini, we talked a lot about coming upon summer. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and summer is really happening now. We are beginning Cancer season with the summer solstice, and this is a time when we can really be drawn out of ourselves, and we talked about that a lot. We get sort of pulled into this external energy surrounding us, and we really have to work to remain centered and connected to our inner truth. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you have a flip of this actually. So it's helpful to contemplate because you're experiencing it almost in the mirror image. So the flower essence for Cancer is clematis. This is one of the 12 healers by Dr. Bach for the flower essences, which have been correlated to the zodiac. And clematis is the perfect essence for this time of year because it's an essence for floating away, like someone who continually is almost pulled out of body, seeks escape through fantasy, would rather live in sort of like an imaginary world of their making than in the present reality, and has this sort of pull out of themselves. And so clematis as a flower essence is really used to pull them back in and center and ground. You can see it in the seeds of the clematis, which float away in this very whimsical way. And the affirmation from Flower Essence Society for clematis is, I seek to be fully awake in the present moment. I bring practical focus to my dreams. I bring my soul longings into the home of earth. I am present right now in this beautiful world. So our virtue for Cancer, according to Anthroposophy and Rudolf Steiner, is unselfishness becomes catharsis. So you begin with unselfishness, and then the even higher virtue that it leads to is catharsis. And you can think of catharsis as this purification, as this release, a relief from what is repressed or unconscious within you. It's a cleansing through expression, and it opens you up to new vision and new possibilities. So I see this virtue as actually the higher form of what it is we experience just naturally in the summertime, in the time of Cancer, of being pulled out of ourselves. There's this sort of a kind of unselfishness to that. So it's like, how can we take this tendency and how can we actually move it to its higher aspect so that it's not that I lose myself? And that's the goal of the clematis flower, to help with that. You don't lose yourself. You don't leave the earth. You're here for a reason. You are you here for a reason. Your individuality. But how can I connect to my individuality in a higher way? How can I have a catharsis, a purging, a purification, a release of my lower ego and its selfish desires, and move into my higher self, and with an outwards reach into my surroundings in this sort of opening of the catharsis and this sort of an energy that can happen in the summertime. So it's like the transformed gesture of the summer. And when you think of Cancer as well, some of the qualities of Cancer being really emotional, really moved by this element of water, this very feminine aspect. When we were talking in the last episode about the divine feminine, divine masculine, there's this sort of submerging, drowning sort of overflow that can happen with this kind of Cancer energy. It's connected to the archetype of the mother, and this unselfishness is the potential of that motherly archetype within all of us, of being able to care for others around us and to put them first, but to do so without losing ourselves and losing our center, and having it come from that truthful place of center, not coming from obligation, not coming from guilt, or then placing guilt on another, not coming from a place of transaction. So that's the possibility, and that's the purification, the catharsis of the feminine. And then in that opening up, new revelations can come in of, what life can be like. A sort of a new vision, if you will, which I think is perfect for this time of midsummer, of St. John's. So that leads me to the card that I pulled, which is Our Lady of New Vision. And this is from the Mother Mary Oracle by Alana Fairchild. And it says, I place my sacred eye opened in your heart so that you may see. Let go of small dreams and become receptive to fresh vision. My eye in your heart sees great beauty. Can you see the new vision emerging? Now is the time to dare to dream and to pray boldly and with conviction that the most beautiful vision you can receive will come to life in service to all. I feel this is really connected to the card in our last episode of Gemini, when the card mentions the awakened feminine. All right, we'll keep going. It says, there comes a time in our life when new vision is required. Perhaps what we have once imagined would fulfill us has been experienced and we are ready for something new. Or perhaps old dreams have not manifested as we thought they would, and there is a reason for that. The vision was incomplete or in need of adjustment. There are plenty of times in life when we have to grow to meet the vision. Sometimes, however, the vision has to grow in order to be worthy of us. Our Lady of New Vision tells us that the vision we once were holding for ourselves is not all that it could be. She tells us we can benefit ourselves and others by opening up and preparing to receive a greater vision, believing absolutely that it can and will manifest through her holy grace in service to all. If you are confronted with issues of self-worth, then you may believe that this guidance means your vision should become smaller. But in all likelihood, it is actually the opposite that is required of you. Build a vision that is more open, more generous, more supported, and more involving of those around you. Whether you know your soul tribe now or are waiting to attract or be attracted to those souls that will assist you on your life path, holding the vision is like flicking the light switch on. It makes you energetically more visible and magnetic to those who are going to assist you, calling them in your life path. Then you can assist them too, helping them fulfill their spiritual destiny, holding a vision of lightness and happiness that can benefit all. If you are aware of a budding vision and have been holding back, perhaps thinking it is too much, then shed your doubts and open your heart to it. Do not concern yourself with how it can happen. When a vision comes from the heart as inspiration, it is the Holy Mother whispering to you in imagery, speaking of what will be, if only you allow her to flow through you so that you may become all that you are destined to be, which is a manifestation of her miraculous grace. There is nothing that is too simple or too grand. What matters is not the scope of the vision, but that it has enough of your heart in it to move you, to prompt you to pray with all your being for her help to manifest it. Let the vision shimmer into light and life through your prayer and her assistance. So I'm seeing this card as much beyond what a sort of shallow view of this idea of manifestation could be, but rather that if it is in alignment and if you are willing to sacrifice from that centered place of truth in service to love and to the vision, then the impossible can be possible. So I have here the journal prompt for summertime, which says, in summer, we see a fullness of expression of the forces around us, and we can more easily be drawn out of ourselves. Compare your inner feeling now to directly across the wheel of the year in winter. See if you can imagine and reflect on the shifts of feeling within yourself. Can you notice some of the ways that your inner feeling in wintertime is now externalized into your surroundings during the summer? And this is a prompt that I wrote for summer, and I feel like actually this is a good example for if you are listening from the Southern Hemisphere and you're also in the sign of Cancer. You're also working perhaps with the same virtues, perhaps with the same essences, that there is this mirroring and there is this relationship between the opposite sides on the wheel of the year in terms of the seasons. So there still is this way of working with this whole picture. The card pull, if you have a deck of cards and you want to pull a card, is what is one way I can return to myself and remain centered? Now, the card that I personally pulled is the Seven of Wands. And this is really interesting because this is a card often of sort of defense, of kind of holding something back, holding it away. And this gesture of like, I'm pushing away out of myself that which will not serve the higher, to create the space for this new vision or, whatever it is to be able to become. So I see this as being really necessary during this time when we are easily influenced by the external. But again, it's like I'm not doing this from a place of actually selfishness, of like pushing away that my personal preferences, those things that I don't like. It's coming from a place of, actually this might be something that I do prefer and like very much, but it's not of service, and I have to actually push it out to make space for what can come. And that is this cathartic purification process as well. So the flower essence that I've connected, I've looked at the 12 healers by Dr. Bach that have been associated with the different signs, and then I've compared them and looked at the relationship and the set of 12 heart remedies by Flower Essence Services, Flower Essence Society. And the one that I've connected with Cancer, with clematis, is borage. And borage is actually a really good remedy for depression. And I feel like it's connected to this because connected to borage is a lot of these things that weigh us down. These things, and they might even become unconscious within us, or these patterns that we just can't quite seem to break, and how this purification process of making that space and making that way for catharsis could really be assisted by releasing that which holds us down. And so I think that this flower would be really useful for that. So the affirmation is, I find strength to face the trials of life. I fill my heart with buoyant, uplifting light. Light, strong courage makes my heart grow glad. Thank you so much for being with me here, and I hope that you got a lot out of this episode. Happy Cancer season and solstice if you're listening to this when it comes out, and happy St. John's if you celebrate.